Did you know ASBN, America's Small Business Network, is now available on your TV? That's right. ASBN is now streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire Stick, and available for download in the App Store. Scan the QR code to download the ASBN app today. This is The Roadmap with Ted Jenkin.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Roadmap exclusively here on ASBN.com. I'm Ted Jenkin, your host today, and of course every week I bring you some of the brightest and best CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to talk about starting businesses, scaling businesses, and maybe one day exiting stage left. I have to tell you, I'm so excited to talk about this topic today because so many states have gone recreationally legal when it comes to marijuana. Some states have not, but we're going to talk about a really fast-growing hemp and CBD company here in the state of Georgia. I've got Joe Salome today. He is a co-founder. He's also a managing director of the Georgia Hemp Company.
Yes, sir.
I was excited to have you on because I've been involved in different golf tournaments that you've done, and obviously I've seen the product at so many places. It was recently at the Atlanta Open, the huge tennis tournament that's held here in Georgia. Why did you decide to start this company? How did this germinate, this idea?
You know, after writing business plans in entrepreneurship school at Kennesaw State, my business plans were typically about cannabis, but my professors would like me to change the word cannabis to widget many times.
Widget.
So I would write a lot of business plans about widgets in college. But then in 2013, when Colorado went legal, the light kind of was shined on an industry that I'd been thinking about for years. And what was really cool was there was not just a recreational side of it, there was a medical side of it. And so people were being helped with it. I saw that directly with my mother. I helped her get through chemo with cannabis use. And so I saw the opportunity, now that Colorado was doing it, to do something here in Georgia. And coincidentally at the time, they were trying to write a bill at the Capitol here that would allow cannabis use for patients in Georgia.
What are the rules today in Georgia? Because I've done a lot of homework on this, and most of the states look like they're medically, it's legal for marijuana, a lot of recreational now. Georgia seems like it's none. What is it exactly?
Yeah, so in the state of Georgia, it's the Haley's Hope Act. They approved 18 conditions to possess up to 18 conditions. And it started with seizures, and they built on it because they realized more people needed this, more patients needed this. It includes patients and caregivers to possess up to 20 ounces of an oil, a low THC oil that's at a 5% max level.
Okay, so those are the rules that officially can make it happen here in the state of Georgia.
Now, that being said, is up until this year, you had to fly out of state and break federal law to bring back that medicine.
Really?
Yep. So as a caregiver of a patient, let's pretend you had MS, you were in a wheelchair, or your child had seizures or autism, or you had intractable pain or Crohn's or epilepsy or cancer, and you had to go to a legal state that either has it medically or even recreationally, where you could just walk in and buy it willy-nilly, but then you had to break federal law and bring it back to the state to live your life.
So let's just talk in general about the retail model, because there are a lot of people out there that maybe they buy a franchise, maybe they think they're going to start their own retail store. One, how did you choose the location for the first Georgia Hemp Company, and what kind of costs were there to build inventory? Because obviously if you have a store, you've got to build it out. And what kind of licenses did you have to get to actually run the business?
Man, you know, it's interesting in a new industry like this, you're kind of just running and gunning because there are no regulations. And even to this day, we've tried to put in some regulations into play that other lobbyists have knocked down. We want regulations. We want some guardrails, but there's none other than just having a basic retail license in our state and having a vape license, because we do carry vape products. That vape
so there's
license,
a separate vape license from a regular business license?
Yep, there's a tobacco license. And so under the tobacco license is a vape license. Now, we don't sell tobacco, but under that license is a vape inhalation type license. Yes, correct. So we do have those. That's really the biggest hurdles. Now, choosing locations. Back in 2017, it was out of necessity. Who was going to give me space? I chose a location off Roswell Road, right outside the perimeter here in Atlanta. Yeah. There used to be a comedy club there. You may know.
The punchline was up there.
So I could tell people, hey, the punchline used to be here. Do you remember where that was at? And you would say, absolutely. I would say, that's where I'm at. But that was the only place that would rent to me. Now I have Selig renting to me, right? We have Halprin. We have a lot of the big Atlanta large real estate companies talking to us because of how we're doing and what we're doing from a brand perspective. Yeah, absolutely.
So once you got one store open,
Yeah.
how did you know? Because a lot of people want to know this business-wise. When was the right time to open store number 2?
Yeah. You know, it's like, when's the right time to have a kid? It just
Never.
never, right? And so it's always the right time to grow if the situation's right. And so I passed up on a lot of real estate. My background is working with haircuttery and Moe's in a multi-unit franchise market. And so I saw across the country what was required and what was necessary for winning units. And that's where we were driven to. My second unit was in Decatur on the corner next to a Moe's and a Pizza Hut and a Starbucks across from a Whole Foods next to Walmart, right down from a hospital. I like medical combined with retail. Combines a nice mix.
Yeah, what I find fascinating right now is I feel like the last couple of years I've witnessed your brand really, really grow in size. Obviously, what's been your marketing strategy to think about how you spend money to grow the brand, and also thinking about direct sales to also grow the business?
Look, in a new brand, you have to spend it. You can't be too conservative if you're trying to grow a brand. I knew from the outset that I was not going to have one store. My mind didn't work that way. My experience. The mapping in my head was to do multiple units. So I was always thinking that way.
Right.
It was just inherent. We were going to do it. My business partner, the finance guy, was going, okay, how much are we spending and what's it on?
Right.
But I knew if we did it right and we had the right message, it's a holistic approach. The right message will drive the people in. And if we could deliver the right customer service, the right experience, the right overall holistic experience together, that marketing dollars were going to go further.
You know, Joe,
but I had to spend it to make it.
I think people way underestimate. I had this in my businesses that I built and I sold, the value of PR.
Yeah.
And you were telling me earlier that you had one New York Times article, and it literally, I don't want to say it broke the internet, but it definitely,
it definitely broke the internet.
Yeah, it definitely created another store for you. Can you talk about the value of getting quoted or having articles written about your business?
It can move mountains. What was really cool, I guess, was it created challenges, right? I want business to grow. You want business to grow, right? That's why we're doing this. I mean, we're doing it because of the inherent why I'm doing it, but you also want to be successful in everything you do. You want to put your best foot forward and be a good part of society and be a good and I want to be a good representative of cannabis at the end of the day. And so I wanted to make sure that, yes, I was out there, and if I was the only one, somebody had to do it. And so I decided that was going to be me. And so I believe it is important to put good messages out there versus the negative propaganda we heard about cannabis for so many years. So it's almost trying to reverse what we grew up on. How do we put more out there? How does my 9-year-old look at a cannabis leaf and go, hey, look, that's cool, that's dad's. When she sees, I don't know, like Snoop Dogg or somebody moving and they're smoking cannabis, she goes, is that your stuff? I'm like, yes, it is. But she doesn't associate that with negativity. Right.
Well, how do you get over that stigma in the general public that they're like, I'm not doing drugs, or they don't even know necessarily what it is? How do you educate the consumer to get over that stigma of what this really is?
First off, some will, some won't. So what? Somebody's waiting, right? We're 1 in a million on this spinning earth. We're just zooming through it. Millions. I'm just trying to get high and pass the vibe, right? That's it. So at the end of the day, it is about education. We always reference Raphael Mechoulam, who discovered the endocannabinoid system in Israel 60 years ago. The natural endocannabis system in your body with a CB1 and a CB2 receptor. So it's all about the conversation, the consultation, the education, and how enzymes and cannabinoids interact with these receptors to bring homeostasis to the body. End of the day, I don't care how many joints are sold at a dispensary or how many pop up in the state that can sell seltzers. That's cool. But when we start synthesizing these cannabinoids and understanding how it can help our bodies live longer or help the inflammation in our brain go away as we get older, those are the big wins and why we really are doing what we're doing.
I mean, it's definitely gaining traction. Can you talk at all about this relationship you have with Major League Baseball now and the Atlanta Braves?
Sure.
I mean, I know you've done your great PR work on this. Talk about that. What's that look like now?
So just piggybacking on what you said about the endocannabinoid system, Athletes are pushing their bodies every day. They're machines. And what they put into it is very important. So we partnered with the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball to create an NSF-certified CBD oil. NSF is an organization that approves manufacturing equipment, products, things that we use in our daily lives, but also products that go into athletes' bodies for performance. So Gatorade Twitch is a great example. AG1 is another great example of an NSF certified product that athletes are allowed to take in if they're if they get drug tested, within their organizations. Yeah. These are approved products. So MLB, PGA, we have the Olympics. We have athletes all over the world that now can take this. Department of Defense individuals, really interesting list of individuals that can now take our CBD and feel confident they're not going to fail a drug test and be able to pass stuff.
So is it just the Braves, or is this all across Major League Baseball?
So Major League Baseball has approved it across, yes. And again, when we take a step back and look at the society as a whole, opioid epidemic was big, right? And they had players that were overdosing and doing some really terrible things to their bodies, right? They're hurting themselves. And so they wanted to give them another option. So cannabis is a substance that players are now allowed to use.
It's interesting to me because, marijuana has always been considered a Schedule I drug, or Class I drug, as they say, according to the government, which is one of the reasons that you continue to have the banking system not be able to be intertwined, although it's legal in so many states today, which does feel like an oxymoron
and
itself.
There's an FDA-approved product that stops seizures that has cannabis in it.
Right, and so you look at that, and there are Class II drugs I've seen, like fentanyl, that we hear about every day, and cocaine. Why doesn't the government now either get rid of marijuana as a Class I drug, or just say that the banking system can integrate it? Because it's almost like, to me, like the world of alcohol years ago. It's like, let's wait to see how all the distributors get all the money, then we'll figure out how we collect the tax revenue off of them. Is that what's happening here?
Absolutely. States are giving out golden tickets in every state for 6 to 10 companies to operate.
They call it like a Willy Wonka ticket.
It absolutely is. And now I got to sit on the sideline waiting for one of them to fail to kind of pick it up, honestly. And I think if the federal government would step in and do something at the national level, it would stop these little monopolies from happening. And now you're having multi-state operators. And again, to do a seed to sell company is not cheap. I'm just doing retail. To go from growing, extraction, product manufacturing, and then now retail packaging and into a retail operation is pretty expensive. So the companies that get into it have to have a lot of capital. And then when they expand into these other states, and that's what you're seeing at this point, individual state operators aren't happening. You're already seeing the multi-state operators take over this industry.
Are you, the way that it works, and I don't know how Georgia will do licenses, and are you well positioned that if Georgia does become an approved state, that you can either add it to your stores or create a different brand, or is that a completely separate lane as a business?
It kind of is. Right now in the hemp industry, my goal is to blur the lines. What's the difference between cannabis, marijuana, hemp? Really, it's the percentage of cannabinoids within those plants. So they're just flowers, they're plants, and they're bred specifically to have something in them. And that's what was happening over time. High THC breeds, high CBD breeds, high other breeds. And so now that's what we're seeing. My goal is now to blur those lines. At the molecular level, THC out of hemp and cannabis is the same. CBD and cannabis is the same.
Interesting.
Right? And then we
just don't view it that way.
Correct, because of how it's been positioned, sold, and
so
told
Joe,
us.
is there really, when you look at this line, because I've seen this and I hear people talking about in the state of Georgia at least, there's things like Delta 8, and I know there's Delta 9, and then there's marijuana. Yeah. When you talk about blurred lines, how blurry is that line between a Delta 8 or Delta 9 and a T8 real marijuana?
We just spoke about the 6 companies in Georgia that can sell medical cannabis now. Their max is a 5% THC oil, okay? I have a full dispensary at my disposal to compete against that. So talk about blurred lines, they're gonna take years to catch up with me. I compete with West Coast dispensaries, right? Yeah. I've got flower. THCA flower. Hey, I didn't make the laws. I'm just semantics. We deal with what's in front of us. And every year something's been given to us. We've got hemp flower, then we had Delta 8, now we have Delta 9. It's all about a weight thing. So we have seltzers with CBD and THC. Yeah. We've got everything with THC now that meet both markets, but we're also working with all cannabinoids, CBG, CBN, CBD, all in togetherness.
High margin business, Joe? Is this a good margin business?
It can be, absolutely, yes.
It depends on what kind of products that you sell?
I think it depends how you run your operation, right? I like to spend big, but I also don't have a cheap product.
Right.
So, value comes with price a lot of times.
Hard to find labor or no?
Absolutely not.
Everyone wants to work in this business?
We have millions of years of users that are dying to get into this industry. There's not a person.
Do I get free product with employment? Is it?
There are benefits. There's the benefits.
How do you one day in the retail kind of business, not that you would do this, but let's say you build from 4 stores to 8 stores. What kind of exit plan could you have for this business down the road?
I think as our brand continues to build, people will look at us like a franchise, even though we're not. But you're going to see folks that look at franchise and say, is that a model we like to bring up underneath our umbrella?
Yeah.
Is the hemp industry, is the hemp supplement industry. And as we continue to grow, it's not just what you put in your body, it's gonna be what you put on your body too, right? It's gonna be other things outside of just the cannabinoids. It's hemp in general. It's gonna be a game changer once we can really let it loose. So yes, exit plans are always important. My uncle owns a flower shop in New York. He still doesn't have the exit strategy. He just gave it to his kid. And I asked him this 20 years ago. That's funny. It's the second thing we were told in college was always have an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to build this brand big enough for somebody to pick it up, collect it, and go carry it on to greatness. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, of course, I wouldn't mind continuing to grow this and maybe grab some other companies along the way. Maybe my daughter joins us in 15, 20 years and takes it to the next level.
See how this thing unfolds. Well, I think before we end the show here, I'm going to try. What is this that I would be trying here?
This is our partner, Flora. This is going to be a CBD THC beverage. We're going to go with 5 milligrams on THC. It's a little low, and 10 on the CBD.
It's a little low.
Nice, relaxed.
And how many would a person at home have one of these cans?
Yes, and this is our passion fruit margarita. Now
one full can?
No. So these are session drinkers. So you can maybe have.
What's a session drinker?
Just like beer, we want to have 2 to 3 possibly, right?
That's good.
That's good, right?
That is really good.
Okay, all right.
I did 2 to 3, but you know what? I'm doing the show here. It's probably not going to help me that much. Joe, thanks so much for coming on the program today. Not only educating our audience about the business model, but about what's happening in the whole marijuana CBD industry. Folks, this is about having a dream. It's about chasing trends sometimes, and sometimes you just have to do it. Like Joe said today, sometimes you are running and gunning when you start a business. You sort of figure it out along the way. I'm so glad that you figured it out. Thanks so much for watching this episode of The Roadmap.
Thanks for watching The Roadmap with Ted Jenkin.